Hey everybody, guess where we are? We're back in Barbados.
We're home.
We're home. And we wanted to just provide you a little bit of an update today on just what the journey was like for us last month leading into our transition back to Barbados. What that experience was like, making the decision to take off from California and to come home here to Barbados. And then we'll have some future videos on what it's been like resettling, getting unpacked here, getting the kids back to school, reconnecting with our community here and our friends. So, at least a lot of July and August, especially last half of July and August, were kind of closing down life in California. It was kind of wrapping things up in the townhome that we were able to rent temporarily for a year. You were kind of overseeing a lot of that. What was that journey like for you to just be going through it, that purge, and what did it feel like for you in realizing that we were actually doing this?
So it felt similar to leaving initially when we moved during the pandemic. It had a lot of similarities of packing everything up. At that time we were packing up a home that we'd lived in for 15 years or so. This one we had lived in a year, but there was still a process of purging, donating. You don't realize how much you accumulate in a year's time.
Especially living in the US with Amazon.
Yes.
We have more to say about that in just a moment.
Yes, exactly. So it felt good. I felt like we learned from the first time that we did it. So
she learned from the first time.
I learned to not procrastinate, and I feel like we were packing and donating and purging and all of that for a good month or so. So there wasn't a mad rush at the end. So it felt good in that regards of, we had our little command center to get us through this period of time, but it never felt like home. So closing that chapter, we could literally close the door, and it felt like closing one chapter of life and starting anew as we made our way to come back to Barbados, which truly feels like home for us. The emotions around it were kind of all over the place. It felt surreal most of the time because the second we left Barbados in July of 2023, it started the countdown. I vividly remember taking off and thinking, the countdown is on to when we get to come back. And there were periods during the journey where it felt like that was so far off. And it felt surreal, closing the door. And as we closed the door of our house, there was a plaque that sat on the ledge. So if you open the door, I think I have a picture of it that I can insert in, but as you open the door, right when you walk in, there's a little window and there was a plaque that said gratitude. And I took a picture of that because that summed up our emotions of really this whole journey. There's so much gratitude from all of you guys, our support system, our family, our friends, to having access to treatment in California, the doctors here, the doctors there. There's gratitude across all aspects of this journey, and it was just fitting to literally close the door, and that's the last thing that you see.
That's right. And over the course of this 13 and a half months that we endured and went through, one of my really good friends, who was kind of one of my rocks, one of my pillars of strength relationally that really helped keep me standing, he told me something one day, and he said, keep staying grounded in gratitude. So he was hearing that coming out of me, coming out of us. And And it's a journey that we've been on that we would wish upon nobody, and yet we're overflowing with gratefulness and with joy. Not false positivity, mind you. That's a whole nother thing that you can get stuck into, where it's false, toxic positivity. No, we felt all of the feels. We felt all of the pain, and it's okay to do that. And yet, amidst all of that, we could find joy in the journey. We could find the moments of laughter. We could find and really cherish the beauty of the little things, the moments that we've had, where we were able to have some belly laughter. In July, early July, we were able to make a trek to Disneyland with family that we were supposed to make, while Lisa was going through chemo last year. That was what our plan was for August of last year. But getting to do that with family and getting to see the children laughing and doing some of those things together, it was just a reminder of the Steve Jobs quote: the dots don't always connect looking forward, but you can always connect them looking back. So when you're going through the thick of things, if you stay grounded in gratitude, grateful that you made it through one more day. Well, guess what?
It can be simple things.
Yeah, exactly.
Because at times it feels really difficult to find the gratitude pieces.
It is.
When you're in the thick of it and stuff's hitting the fan, it's really hard sometimes to find a piece of gratitude, but it can be very, very simple. I sat up today. I drank 8 ounces of water today, and that's kind of, I think we were very mindful of just expressing those pieces to get through it.
When we're going through hard times and adversity, it's easy to say, why is this happening to me? And you've heard me say this before, so I sound like a broken record, but that's for a reason, because it's a life motto that I live by, that we live by. And instead of saying, why is this happening to me? If we ask the question of, why is this happening for me? Those dots will connect when we look back. And it gives us the strength sometimes to just get through the day and make it to the next day. Because worrying about tomorrow, all it does is empty you of the strength of today. And we learned that time and time again. And we had outstanding friends and family and loved ones that reminded us of that and gave us some of the strength for today that we needed. And you keep on walking, and sooner than later, that storm does pass. Are there going to be scars from it? Yeah. And guess what? Adversity makes us stronger. It makes us better. It grows us closer together. We've had relationships and friends that we were close with, and guess what? We're that much closer with some of those folks. And it's been amazing how that has been a gift that has given, and it's zoomed us right in onto what are the things that we want to add into our life. And sometimes the best way to add is by subtracting, of releasing some of the pieces. And that's been a beautiful part of the journey as well. As you think of our trek back, we traveled through Boston on the way, Lise. Within our final week in the United States, we flew back to Barbados on a Sunday. The week before, on the Saturday, we went to a funeral for a really close friend of ours, the wedding that we actually met at. It was, her mom passed away at the age of 71. So the kids got to go through their first funeral. The week later, the night before we flew back to Barbados, we were at a wedding for a cousin in Boston. And the kids got to experience their first wedding. And Preston comes to me on the flight back to Barbados. And he says, Dad, he goes, weddings are a lot more fun than funerals. And I said, you're right, man.
You're a little emotional guy. He said, yeah, there wasn't as much crying
at the wedding.
At the wedding than at the funeral.
And when we connect those dots with those pieces that week, looking at that gratitude sign for the last time on that Wednesday night that we were flying out to Boston on an overnight flight, temporarily losing our passports. That's a whole nother story. We got them back. We're okay. We'll get into that at some point in the future.
Yes.
What was that? What was that like? For that final juxtaposition when we got into process, when we were heading out to Boston and realizing we were wheels up,
so surreal.
looking out the window, seeing the jet leave California.
Even before then, we made it to the airport and we flew out of our local airport. Usually we fly out of a big international in San Francisco. Flying out of a smaller airport close to where the kids grew up, we got to the gate. The kids were eating something before we boarded the plane, and we decided to go take a short walk because we knew we were going to be on an overnight flight. So we start walking down the path and we're holding hands, and he just squeezes my hand, and I don't even know what you asked me. Something of, how are you feeling? Or, and I just started bawling. And if you know me, I don't like to cry. And there were so many emotions, and all he had to do was squeeze my hand and say, how are you feeling? And it was just like incredible, because it felt so surreal to be at that point, because it seems so far off for so long. And it was the reality of, in 20 minutes, we're going to be wheels up leaving California. And I had the same emotions leaving Boston, knowing we were coming home. And it's hard to really put into words, but it was, as soon as we landed here, again, tears, just gratitude, happiness, and it felt like a whole weight had been lifted. And it was, I don't know how to describe it, just, we were home.
We're home. We're home. As we wrap up, some of the key takeaways for us from the past 13 and a half months. No matter what is thrown your way, what adversity you face, find joy in the journey. That was some of the earliest advice that was given to me by my dear friend and business partner in 34 Strong, Brandon Miller. And he told me that early on. He says, no matter what, brother, there's going to be joy. Find it, feel it, celebrate it in the moments. And it might only be a moment in a week, but take it. Take the win. Second thing, stay grounded in gratitude. Because if you're looking for gratefulness and gratitude, you will find it. Just like if you're looking for misery, you will find it. And we all know the folks that are like that no matter what. I heard a story once. A gentleman said, he had a family member that was just constantly miserable and negative. And one day he said, it's Thursday today. And she looks at him, she goes, I know, it's terrible, isn't it? You don't have to be one of those people if you don't want to. We can choose to stay grounded in gratitude if we look for it, while we feel all of the not so pleasant stuff. And finally, convenience can be inconvenient. I told you we'd bring you back to Amazon. Amazon was amazing when we were in the US because, right, you just sit on your butt and you're on the couch and you just, oh yeah, I need,
toilet paper.
I need toilet paper, right? I need toothpaste. I'm just going to order that and it's going to come in boxes and packages when I wake up in the morning. That's amazing. And at the same time, what's the opportunity cost of that, right? One of the things we're thankful for being back in Barbados, we'll talk about this a little bit more in our next video, is not having access to those pieces. Because guess what? Having to make a list, having to go to the store to buy the things, guess what? Guess what the upside of that is? You got to walk a little. You get 1,000 extra steps in your day, 2,000 extra steps. You got to lift the goods to put them in your vehicle, and then you got to lift them and take them out and put them in your home, and into your vehicle, and then into your car, into your house. Sorry. All of these little things add up, and they're little ways that we're getting little bits of exercise, little pieces. When we become overly reliant on technology, we're missing those little nuggets.
Well, there's so many choices.
There's so many choices, so you can just get overloaded. And we even had this happen. Fatigue. This even happened to us in the U.S., even though we're only there for a year. We were getting rid of things, and we're like, how do we have 2 or 3 of these things?
Didn't we learn?
Didn't we learn the first time through? No, we did it. We fell back into it. That's another conversation for later. But you know what? Join the journey, grounded in gratitude. Inconvenience can have its own inconveniences when we look at the whole arc of life. So we'll leave it there. You're wondering why I'm holding this. I'm not training
tennis
to be the next Olympic tennis player, right? This is a little electric device, so when mosquitoes come around, because they are going on right now in Barbados, for all you Bajans, you know what's going on here. It's hot, and there's mosquitoes everywhere. So this little device here, you turn it on when there's a mosquito, and it kind of zaps them. So
some of them make a sound. This one doesn't make a sound.
This one's nice and quiet, but it gets them. Yeah. It zaps them, and it works out really well. So on that note, folks, we'll leave you with that. We'll be back really soon with a note on what it's been like reacclimating into life here in Barbados.
Getting the dog.
Getting the dog, getting the kids resettled in school, unpacking, resettling, reconnecting with our community here, our friends, our family that's here.
Yeah, soon to come.
Much love to all of you. Thanks for following our journey. Take care.